Another top focus story, a major Pak-Khalistan terror plot to bleed India has been busted. Karnal Police has arrested 4 terror suspects and has recovered a large cache of explosives from them, including 3 IEDs. The terror suspects were held near Bastara toll plaza at 4 a.m. in a coordinated operation of the Punjab and Haryana police. Now, preliminary investigation has revealed a Pak ISI Khalistan terror plot, the mastermind of which is Harvinder Singh Rinda. Remember that Rinda is the commander of the Khalsa International and is backed by Pakistan's ISI. Sources have told Times Now that one of the arrested accused, named Gurpreet, met Rinda's old associate in prison and subsequently got in touch with Rinda. The accused were then supplied explosives from across the border using drones. Rinda has also shared the location with the 4 accused, directing them to deliver the explosives to Adilabad in Telangana.
गाड़ी की तलाशी ली गई। तलाशी के दौरान एक देसी पिस्टल, 30 जिंदा कारतूस और 3 लोहे के कंटेनर जिनका एक का वजन लगभग 2.5 किलो का आसपास है, वो मिले थे। उसके बाद में अभी बीडीडीएस टीम ने जो एक्सरे जो किया है उसमें एक्सप्लोजिव्स की पुष्टि हुई है। तो जो युवकों से भी मैंने पूछताछ करी है, उसके अनुसार जो हरविंदर सिंह इंदा जो कि पाकिस्तान बेस्ड है, उसने ड्रोन के जरिए फिरोजपुर ज़िले में इनकी सप्लाई करी थी और उसके बाद में पहले भी कंसाइनमेंट एक बार उसके पास में आ चुका है। ये कंसाइनमेंट जो है वो उससे लेकर के फिरोजपुर से लेकर के वहाँ जा रहे थे नांदेड़ के पास में।
And sources in the probe agencies have told Times Now that the IED recovered from Karnal are similar to those found in Delhi, Punjab and Kashmir earlier. It's learned that 8 to 10 such IEDs have been recovered from different locations so far. Probe agencies believe that the recovered IEDs could be part of a larger IED consignment smuggled into India.
उनका क्योंकि हरियाणा प्रदेश से कोई लेना देना नहीं है, पंजाब की इन्फॉर्मेशन में मिली थी और उस पंजाब की इन्फॉर्मेशन आधार पर बस्ताड़ा टोल पर हमने गाड़ी पकड़ी है, जिसमें कुछ असला भी मिला है, वो लोग भी पकड़े हैं, लेकिन उनसे अब तफ्तीश चल रही है क्योंकि अभी पकड़े गए हैं। उसकी इन्वेस्टिगेशन के बाद ही पता लगेगा उनका मकसद क्या था, कहाँ जा रहे थे। लेकिन अभी जानकारी ये है कि वो हरियाणा की कोई ऐसी घटना नहीं थी, वो कहीं हरियाणा को पार कर रहे थे। वो सारी जानकारी सुरक्षा एजेंसियाँ उसकी लेंगी, तो जानकारी आपको मिलेगी।
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Taking this across to our guest. With us is Shahzad Poonawala, national spokesperson of the BJP. He continues to be with us. Major General retired G.D. Bakshi is with us. He's a defence expert. Also with us is Vivek Srivastav, political analyst. Kuntal Krishna, political analyst, is with us. Professor D.K. Giri, political analyst, also with us. Let me begin with Major General G.D. Bakshi, and let me ask you, sir. With this kind of a recovery taking place and in the light of the past incidents that have taken place, are we looking at a serious threat of the possibility of the revival of Khalistan forces here in India? Because this kind of a plot that has been busted is a very, very serious one. It's not just about them being busted in Haryana on the outskirts of Delhi, but also the fact that they were planning to send a consignment all the way to Telangana.
That's right. You see, the simple fact is that the ISI has been strenuously engaged in its K2 project, which ultimately aims at the revival of terrorism in Kashmir and Khalistan, as they put it, right? As part of this nefarious plot, they have been trying to smuggle in, firstly, drugs, huge consignments of drugs to get control zombies in the Punjab. And then about 3 years back, they started this campaign to fly over the border fencing through these Chinese drones, hexacopters and quadcopters, whole consignments of arms, ammunition, military grade explosives, drugs and cash. You see, a large number of these consignments were intercepted, at least the drops we were able to recover, but a number of them have slipped through. And we have been seeing that they are now trying to send in prefabricated IEDs. That means you don't have to risk your bomb-making experts by making them cross over to this side and, you know, give the game away. You are making prefabricated IEDs so that they can be easily used all over. Now, they have already made attempts at the courts in Punjab. There is a tandem and effort to try and create communal disharmony, to create trigger points, trigger events which can lead to an intensification of the terrorist movements.
Yes.
Don't forget, it was a series of such clashes that had started the terrorist movement in the Punjab in the 1980s between Nirankaris, between Sikhs, between Jarnail Singh Bhindrawala's gangs and the others. So they are trying to generate communal tension which they can then exploit by terrorism. Now this is a countrywide plot. These weapons were being smuggled towards Telangana. That is what is really food for thought. So we have to be very, very vigilant, very careful, and I'm very glad that our police has intercepted this.
Yes,
rather
let me bring in some of our other panelists
to go off in our faces and then take action.
Stay with us, Major General G.D. Bakshi. Let me quickly bring in Professor D.K. Giri. Professor D.K. Giri, you know, the events that we've seen in the run-up to this, not just the blasts and other events that have taken place, but also the recent incidents of communal clashes that took place in Patiala, you know, by a group that was pro-Khalistan. And now, of course, this Babbar Khalsa plot that has been busted by the Punjab police and the Haryana police working together. You know, end of the day, this raises a very, very serious question. In the run-up to the elections in Punjab, we all saw the talk about how Punjab is a sensitive border state that has to be handled very carefully. Unfortunately, the events that are taking place one after the other are going to raise some very, very serious questions about whether things are actually being handled properly in Punjab.
Well, I get your hint, but look, they have been hardly a few weeks in power. You know, you can't really blame them for whatever has been happening in Punjab. Give them some time, but yes, this is a serious issue, and I agree with General Bakshi that our police have acted smartly. They have caught the terrorist, and we should try to nip it in the bud, nip this conspiracy from ISI. But if you are holding Aam Aadmi Party and their government to task, that is a bit unfair. They have hardly come to power. They were not even in the reckoning during elections. You know what happened? Suddenly they got a windfall and they made the government. So they are finding their feet. Give them some time, and it is a bigger conspiracy. The whole country, in fact, the union government also has
law and order, to the best of my knowledge, is a state subject. I'm going to allow Shahzad to respond, because end of the day, all state governments that have law and order under them have to take responsibility for this. Thankfully, this plot was busted, but it is a serious issue given the number of incidents that have taken place. I want Shahzad to come in now and reply to you on that.
First of all, let me take this occasion to thank people like Mr. G.D. Bakshi, who serve in our intelligence forces, our armed forces, border security forces, and in uniform, particularly the police, because had it not been for them, we would not be safe night after night to sit on these debates. But unfortunately, Madhav, what do we see? You remember that conversation, and I think you reported very extensively on, can I please not be interrupted by people who question the armed forces on surgical strikes? Thank you very much. Now, you remember, Madhav, that debate we had, discussions we had.
Vivek Srivastav, I'll come to you, sir. We have limited time. Let's all please respect each other and respect each other's time.
The problem with this man
I'm going to come to you, sir.
That his party refused to donate blood to Indian armed forces. This is the background of this man and his party. I don't even know why he's interrupting
Let's stick to the subject at hand.
No, can I please make my point, Madhav? And can you have some patience?
Go ahead, Shahzad.
Madhav, I remember the debates we had when border security, when the border security forces jurisdiction was being increased to 50 kilometers, and this was precisely the reason why it was being done. You remember the kind of language that was used? Aam Aadmi Party came out and said, "Ye dadagiri hai." That means border security forces getting additional jurisdiction is dadagiri. Apart from this, you know, when rice is being cooked, you don't need to eat the entire rice. You just need to take one dana and see what is the state of the rice. Similarly, look what has happened in Patiala. Somebody is taking out Khalistan Murdabad rally, and there's an open free for all for the radicals. The radicals are allowed a free run. Why? Because during the campaigning period, somebody goes and sleeps at the house of a militant. Somebody uses a militant to go and campaign for him in the 2017 election. I call these people Algawadi Anarchist Party. AAP. I have not named any party. I am saying Algawadi Anarchist Party. These people who hobnob with these Algawadis will give a free run to Algawadis. Finally, I want to say that those who have been constantly questioning the armed forces, intelligence forces, and our security paraphernalia, today they should watch this and say sorry before they begin their discourse on yet another round of abusing the security forces.
All right, Vivek Srivastav. I'm going to allow Vivek Srivastav to rebut that.
Yeah, sure. I did not know the ISI is run by Aam Aadmi Party. I did not know the government in Pakistan and Islamabad is Aam Aadmi Party and they are plotting against India. Shahzad Poona enlightened me. Thanks a lot for that. Now moving ahead, you see, it is a major failure of the security forces at the border right now, be it the Narcotics Control Bureau. Let me speak. I mean, I'm just telling you. Now see, at the border and including the Narcotics Control Bureau, there is a major failure in this country. Drugs are everywhere. Drugs are everywhere, be it Bombay, be it Delhi, be it Chennai, be it Pune, हर जगह है. Sometimes you say Shaheen Bagh में consignment मिला, sometimes you say Bollywood में consignment मिला, और उड़ के तो नहीं आ रहा ना. Somebody is smuggling it and the forces sitting at the border are not successful. Now all this great story about drones flying with the consignment of weapons, it is all a ploy just to
it's actually flying across the border. If border states like Punjab are not going to be vigilant, it will lead to serious issues. I'm not for a minute saying that there was no smuggling before, but the point is we know where the fault line is and we have to be extra vigilant and careful about it. That's the point that's being made.
Yeah, please. Sir, but we are not capable, it seems, or maybe there are corrupt elements in our own forces who are getting this facilitated. The story is going over my head. Drones aa gaye, drugs lekar ke, drones aa gaye, ammunition lekar ke, drones aa gaye, rifle leke, drones aa gaye, AK-47 leke. What is happening in this country? And secondly, you see, as far as the BJP is concerned, since they have come to power, the Khalistan problem has resurfaced again. The Honorable former Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh, when he became the Prime Minister, he appealed to the Sikh community. He said what happened in 84 was wrong. Okay. What has happened to our community was unfortunate, but we need to forgive, move ahead, contribute to the national development. Okay. And in Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee,
okay, fair enough. It's a political debate. Shahzad, the point being made with Vivek Srivastav is that poor handling of Punjab by the centre has accentuated the problem of Khalistan. That's in a nutshell his argument, if I've understood it correctly. Please respond to that.
Yeah, absolutely, sir.
I mean, if Mr. Vivek Srivastav has chosen to selectively delete the entire portion of history when the Khalistanis killed our Prime Minister Indira Gandhi and the kind of turmoil Punjab saw in the 80s and 90s, I can't help it.
Bhaiya, 2022 ki baat karo na, after that peace came to this country.
Just to
why do you want to go back to 1984 days?
2022 ki baat karo to you want to delete all of this.
You are creating Khalistanis again.
No, listen
you
to me.
Call the farmers sitting at the border Khalistanis.
Mr. Srivastav.
You accuse the farmers sitting and protesting in this nation as Khalistanis, and later on the Prime Minister comes and with folded hands he apologizes. This is your policy.
Can I please complete? Can we speak one at a time?
That's another example.
Can I speak? Can you speak one at a time?
Okay. There's limited time. Make your point quickly, please, Shahzad.
Yeah. Now, can I answer the question?
Please,
or can you just
go ahead.
Sure.
Mr. Srivastav, what would you call a person who spends the night at the house of Khalistani Commando Force Chief?
I don't want to call anyone anything. All I know is my security forces are not competent right now. And drugs and ammunition is coming into this country. And I have an incompetent government, an incompetent home minister who is again recreating the Khalistani problem for this country. That is my problem.
You just
I don't understand why we are discussing
AK-47. Let me complete. अच्छा आप खालिस्तानी की कोठी में रहो, खालिस्तानी आपके लिए कैंपेन करे, पर खालिस्तानी के समर्थक हम, ये तो बड़ी अजीब और गरीब बात है। आप खालिस्तानी को फ्री रन दो, और खालिस्तान मुर्दाबाद बोले, तो उनको दंगे करने का अधिकार दे दो कि खालिस्तान मुर्दाबाद क्यों बोला, और खालिस्तान के समर्थक हम। ये क्या अन्याय है विवेक श्रीवास्तव जी? पर बहरहाल आपके डबल स्टैंडर्ड्स आपको मुबारक।
आप ही के केंद्र में आने के बाद खालिस्तान की प्रॉब्लम क्यों हो रही है?
एंड दैट कैन ओनली सर प्लीज ओके सर, आपको तो लेफ्ट को डिफेंड करने बोला है, ये गिरी साहब बैठे आम आदमी पार्टी के लिए, अब आप क्यों उनके बीच में पड़ रहे? कोई समझौता हो गया क्या आपका? सुन लीजिए ना, मैं सिर्फ इतना कह रहा हूँ, रेडिकल्स ओके सुन तो लीजिए, मुझे पता है मेरी रिस्पांसिबिलिटी है, इसलिए आपको तो देश कभी रिस्पांसिबिलिटी देगी ही नहीं। आप चिंता मत कीजिए, आपको जेएनयू कैंटीन में ही बिठाएगी। अब सुन लीजिए मेरी बात। द पॉइंट आई एम ट्राइंग टू मेक इज दैट वी हैव टू एंश्योर दैट नो साइड ऑफ आवर पॉलिटिकल क्लास एवर प्लेस लूज एंड फास्ट विद दीज रेडिकल्स। बट कैन मिस्टर केजरीवाल कम आउट एंड से खालिस्तान मुर्दाबाद? ही वॉज चैलेंज्ड बाय कुमार विश्वास कि एक बार खालिस्तान मुर्दाबाद बोल दो, नहीं बोल पाए। क्यों नहीं बोल पाते? he should tell us whether he's with BSF getting 50
Let Mr. Giri respond to that. Okay, Mr. Giri, yeah. I want Mr. Giri to quickly respond to that. Then I go across to Kuntal Krishna as well.
Kumar Biswa is not a serious player, character. Kumar Biswa is a comedian. You know, don't take him seriously.
Yeah, Madhav.
Okay. But what is that? But anyway, I think it's a pertinent question because end of the day, Kuntal Krishna, that's a serious question because many a time politicians of various political parties, it's not just about one political party or one state, have in fact expressed their sympathies, at various times even supported those elements who stand for separatist tendencies, and that's something that is very, very dangerous. Many a time, even mainstream politicians, political parties that have footprint in more than one state, doing that is going to raise some very, very serious questions. Kuntal Krishna.
No, BJP had alliance with PDP, who were championing separatism. Are you forgetting it?
Which we are discussing about.
I'm coming to you, Professor Giri. I'll put that question to Shehzad as well.
Yes,
let Mr. Krishna speak first, please. Kuntal Krishna.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Madhav, right now the topic which we are discussing, I hope that since the investigation is on, no such threat as General Bakshi or Shehzad is emphasizing on, that there are Pakistan connections or ISI connections. I hope that nothing of this kind turns out. But there are two very important points, Madhav. One, why all of a sudden in last few years, all these incidents, these separatist movements and these terrorist movements have escalated their activities? Or is it so that these activities has been purposely made center point of discussion of the common man? Second point, there are few issues which are concerning sovereign security of this country.
Should national security not be discussed? It should not be the center point according to you?
Pardon?
On a national channel, national security issue should not be the center point?
See, Madhav, there are certain issues which concern sovereign security of this country, and those issues should not be politicized. Those issues should not be used for political gains. And I'm sorry to say, the recent establishment, BJP, RSS, they are using even issues of sovereign security to politicize and for their political gains. So the only point left now is danga karao, har baat pe Pakistan ko lao, Bharat ko asli mudde se bhatkao aur voton ka polarization karwao.
Why should it not be discussed threadbare? And of course there will be a political discussion around it. Quick closing comments from General G.D. Bakshi on that.
See, Madhav, it should not be used for political gains. Everything should not be like danga karao.
Who says that issues of national security should not be politicized? There should be no political debate around it, he says. Please respond to him.
Look, the simple fact is, this is a strange thesis. Don't respond to the provocations of the ISI. Don't respond to whatever they are doing as part of their K2 plan to revive terrorism in Pakistan, because it will go against the interests of this political party A, B or C. I mean, that is ridiculous. There is Pakistan trying its project Kilo 2 or K2 as it is called. It is a deliberate design to revive terrorism.
Well, absolutely. And I think there's one simple point that we as citizens have to resolve, as political parties have to resolve, and that is that all Indians should stand as one when it comes to foreign forces, and particularly Pakistan, which is trying to bleed India with 1,000 cuts. Indians have to come together and not be divided on political or ideological lines. That's the message coming out today. Well, I have to thank all our panelists for joining us, and with that, it's a wrap on NewsHour Agenda this evening.